Representative Matt Gaetz, who still maintains that he's done nothing wrong despite a Justice Department investigation into possible sex trafficking of a minor, asked the Trump administration in the tail end of that term, of course, to offer him a preemptive pardon. Now, we learned about this through some reporting over at the New York Times, and apparently Donald Trump has responded to these allegations. But before we get to his response, let's hear a little from Maggie Haberman over at the New York Times, who I think is incredibly questionable, just keeping it real. But nonetheless, she chimes in on that reporting. Let's hear what she has to say.
His first impulse was that he wanted to defend Gaetz. You know, he's one of our people. Several of his advisors have told him that's a very bad idea, that the nature of what Gaetz is being investigated for is so serious that this is not something that former President Trump should be out there on a limb. Remember, he does not have Twitter anymore, so it's not as if he can just go out and do what he wants. So far, they have been successful in keeping him away. Trump did like Gaetz. Gaetz was a very full-throated supporter of Trump. He was defending him during impeachment. He tried to defend him again during the second impeachment. Trump personally likes him. Trump's staff has always had issues with him.
I have an idea real quick, not to go off on a tangent. Let's please retire the phrase full-throated, especially in this context. Putting that aside, so Donald Trump says that he was never approached personally by Matt Gaetz. He says, Congressman Matt Gaetz has never asked me for a pardon. It must also be remembered that he has totally denied the accusations against him. So that's a little bit of a defense there, but mostly Trump saying that, nope, I wasn't asked about a pardon. But really, the story doesn't say that Trump was specifically approached by Matt Gaetz. White House staffers and aides were approached by Matt Gaetz based on the New York Times reporting. And apparently, a source familiar with Gaetz's request told Fox News that Gaetz's request was met with, quote, lots of eye rolling and wasn't even considered by the White House. And I should also note that Gaetz is currently fundraising off of this scandal. We'll give you the details on that in just a minute. But John, I wanted you to jump in.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit surprised that he, maybe not himself personally asked for one, but people on his team were clearly involved in that. I mean, we don't know for sure that he knew about the investigation, but of course, if he did anything, he knew that he did things. And so, I don't know, to opportunistically look for that in the last few months is just not something that generally you do when you're innocent, as many people have pointed out. In terms of the defense that was offered up by that official presidential statement, it is a defense. It is all that we've gotten from Trump so far. So if you're Matt Gaetz, you're probably happy with it that he's spoken out at all. But I mean, it's not strong. It's not great. Like Anna, if you were caught up in some sort of massive scandal, and I waited like a week, and people are sending super chats every day. Why aren't you saying anything about Anna's scandal? And then finally I put out a tweet that just said, it must be remembered that Anna has denied the accusations against her. And that was it. Would you be satisfied with that? Would you feel like,
no, I mean,
oh yeah, he's got my back?
Yeah, it's not a full-throated defense to use Maggie Haberman's wording there. But look, I think you're right. I think anyone who has the same perspective on this story is correct. If you did nothing wrong, if you have nothing to worry about, why would you need a preemptive pardon? And I do want to show you what Matt Gaetz's argument was in favor of a preemptive pardon, not just for himself. It seemed like he just kind of wanted to distract from the fact that he was looking for a preemptive pardon for himself by also including a broader group of people to be pardoned. And he made this case during a November 2020 interview with Fox. Let's hear what he had to say.
President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn. He should pardon the Thanksgiving turkey. He should pardon everyone from himself to his administration officials to Joe Exotic if he has to, because you see from the radical left a bloodlust that will only be quenched if they come after the people who worked so hard to animate the Trump administration with the policies and the vigor and the effectiveness that delivered for the American people. Yeah. And so I think that the president ought to wield that pardon power effectively and robustly.
So he was obviously a big fan of these preemptive pardons, tried to make it seem like it wasn't just about him, it was about all of these Republican lawmakers. It was about the Thanksgiving turkey because Democrats allegedly have bloodlust. Okay, and of course he's fundraising off of this. He put out an email blast asking for some money because he's being unfairly targeted by Democrats, even though, and let me be clear, the Justice Department investigation began under the Trump administration with Attorney General William Barr serving as the head of the Justice Department as the Attorney General. So to say that this is an attack by Democrats, I think is pretty pathetic. And I think most people who can think logically can see right through this. The body of the email says the far left New York Times, that's hilarious, has been publishing salacious allegations against me in an attempt to end my career fighting for the forgotten men and women of this country. It's a shame that the left tries to drag my dating life into their political attacks, but it's no surprise when your ideas suck, you have to stoop this low. Well, I mean, we know that when Republicans and their ideas suck, they just rig elections to their favor, as they're doing in Georgia and pretty soon also in Texas. But I'll put that aside for now and just note that again, this DOJ investigation began under a Republican administration. And I would argue that for a party that has so much support from QAnon conspiracy theorists, someone who's being investigated for trafficking a minor for sex, serious issue that should be investigated.
Except that, like, every ideology has core values. The core value, or at least the core driving motive of modern day conservatism is just, I don't want to have to think about anything inconvenient. Like the QAnon stuff is, I like that because all Democrats are satanic. Literally, they consume children. That's great. Wait, a Republican did it? No, I don't like that. I don't want to engage with that thought. They're targeting a Trump ally, the deep state. Oh wait, it was a Republican. It was like this guy we love, William Barr. It's just inconvenient. Let's forget about it. Let's pretend that it's Biden. That guy who's known for holding political grudges. But the thing about I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that it was begun under William Barr. The part of it that I have a question for you though is, the reporting has said that at the time that whoever it was, Gaetz or his team that went to the White House and was like, we want a blanket pardon. We don't know that either Gaetz or Trump knew about the investigation, even though the investigation apparently at that point was ongoing. If William Barr was aware of it, which we found that out days ago, that he was well aware of it, how likely do you think it is that Trump did know about it at that point? That someone that's so close of an ally to Trump was being investigated for something particularly bad sounding? It just seems pretty likely that Trump would have known during this pardon period that that's what Matt Gaetz was potentially facing, whether Matt Gaetz knew about it at that point or not.
Yeah, I'm, believe it or not, I'm less interested about what Donald Trump knew about the investigation. And I'm obviously much more interested in what Matt Gaetz knew about the investigation. And obviously I'm about to speculate, I don't know for sure. But remember, this investigation began not based on Matt Gaetz's behavior. The investigation was primarily in the beginning focused on this guy named Greenberg, who's actually a close political ally of Matt Gaetz's. They're good friends, they're from the same state. This was the former Seminole County tax collector, and he was indicted for alleged sex trafficking. And while he was being investigated, that's when the investigation broadened to also include Matt Gaetz, because there was some indication that he, was trafficking a 17-year-old or paying for the travel of a 17-year-old so they can meet and have sex with each other. That's the allegation. I say all that because if that's your homie, and you know that he's facing this investigation, right? He's already been charged with sex trafficking. If you've been involved with this guy in any way, then I think you're pretty much well aware that you're gonna get caught up in that investigation. So I'm speculating that Matt Gaetz did know, which is why he asked for the pardon. Obviously, we have no way of knowing for sure. Donald Trump is always in la la land. The only thing that he ever thinks about is himself. So did Trump know? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that it's less consequential than Matt Gaetz knowing that he was being investigated.
I think from Matt Gaetz' point of view, long term, sure, I think so. And the investigators would want to know if that was motivating him to ask for pardon. That potentially could be a consideration going forward. I'm mostly interested just in that, like, I want Matt Gaetz to know that Trump didn't help him after all that he did for him, that he eventually got the same treatment. Yeah, that's true that he didn't get it, but I want him to know that he didn't get it and Trump knew how bad he needed it. he needs to learn, the only way they can learn, that every one of them has learned that their loyalty will never be paid back, is that they watch this person get betrayed by Trump, and then the next person, that people have worked for years for Trump not getting anything for it. And they're just thinking, I'm sure I'll break this pattern. No, you won't. He doesn't care about you. You're not him, you're not even Ivanka. So he's definitely not gonna do anything for you. And I want Matt Gaetz, whether he ends up in jail or ends up resigning or not, I want him to know that. He'll still be loyal to Trump because that's a prerequisite for a political career on the right now. But I want him to question it a little bit. I just think that would be fun to know that he's doing that.
I love how you just want to twist the knife. Like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but you want to twist that. And I get it. I mean, that is a level of salt that I can appreciate for sure. But a conversation that Ryan Grimm and I had yesterday in regard to this story is, what will the political consequences be? Because Florida's Panhandle, that's the area that Matt Gaetz represents, is incredibly conservative and is, Ryan Grimm's perspective is this scandal, as it stands now, is unlikely to persuade Matt Gaetz supporters in the Panhandle to basically abandon him. And we want to know what you think. So will the Gaetz scandals cost him his job, or will this all blow over because nothing matters? So you got two options there. I like the usage of emojis. Will it cost him his job, or will it all blow over? Of course, Matt Gaetz is refusing to step down. He thinks he's done nothing wrong, but we'll see how this investigation plays out and fill you guys in as we learn more.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.